we're going to dive into the hot topic of Airbnbs in British Columbia.
Ban it.
Yay, hotels!
Yeah.
It's it's happening in cities all over. Different types of regulations, different types of whether it's handled on a municipal level or a provincial level. Here, it's what we're talking about is the provincial level.
Yes.
Affecting all cities and towns greater than
15,000 people. So if you're in a smaller community, then there's plenty of them across here in the island and also on the mainland. But it's really what it's going to impact the most. I mean, we should talk about Victoria first because Victoria is such a huge touristy town, right? It's one of our main, biggest economies here, biggest industries here is tourism, and how's that going to affect tourism? And there's a lot of people out there saying that it's going to have a negative effect, and not as many people are going to be able to come and stay here, afford to stay here, with the number of if you're only allowed to stay at hotels. So there's that part of it. Now, the one kind of workaround that they've allowed is that if you have an Airbnb that's part of your primary residence, that you would not be, then you'd be exempt from this new rule. But what it's affecting is those people that have been buying up, investment properties and using them for short-term rentals. And I guess the hardest thing for these people is this, can I switch this investment property that initially I had run the numbers, and on a short-term, Airbnb, it would work then, but now it just doesn't pencil in, right?
For a long-term rental.
That's right, yeah. So can I take a client or a tenant in for a yearly, lease, even at current market rates, which are quite high in Victoria? It's just sometimes the numbers just don't work out. It depends on, what kind of product you bought and what your monthly, expenses are. And so people are in a bit of a tight spot right now, and it's a matter of what's going on in the condo market. Are we seeing more listings?
Is it the right time to buy? Is it the right time to sell? Do you hang on to it and take a bit of a loss on a long-term rental for maybe a year or 2 years and then try to recoup a little bit more of your money in a different type of market when it's not being flooded by Airbnb properties? And like I said, this is happening all over. What is specific about Victoria is just they're saying that we have about 16,000 Airbnb accommodations, and this is it's a huge number across the province, and how we are handling it. And it seems to me, and this is just my personal opinion, but it seems to me that Victoria as a city was working to try to figure out how to delay it instead of figuring out how they were going to enforce it. They've spent a lot of time trying to delay it through the end of at least this summer. So they were looking at maybe hoping to get a reprieve until November 1st, and that reprieve has been denied by the province. So now,
no surprise there.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you make a decision, it's a hard decision to make.
Well, you can't do it for one and not the other, right?
Right.
If you do it for Victoria, you're gonna have to do it for everybody.
And there's always another. Oh, couldn't we just wait and do that tomorrow? I mean, that's how we live. So that has been denied, and now in a matter of mere days, there is an enforcement that has to occur. So
some pretty big consequences. Some big.
The fines are crazy.
Yeah, I feel whatever you think of Airbnb, for better for worse, there's so many people out there that were just playing within the rules of buying and selling real estate, and now some of them are going to be like I said, they're going to be faced with a very, very difficult decision for some. And it's if you bought a place that's 300 square feet, what else are you going to use that for other than short-term rental?
Well, that's the thing is we talk about this and we say, okay, if you're in the service industry in a tourism heavy area, whether it's Whistler or Victoria or Vancouver, how do you afford to live there? And so this is the overarching umbrella of we have to provide affordable housing to our people, whether this goes across Canada or even just in British Columbia. How do those people who are going to be, selling you your lift tickets, or they are, taking you on a horse-drawn carriage through Victoria, how do they afford to live there if there is no housing, if you can basically be printing money all day with your Airbnb? There has to be an adjustment. This is a huge adjustment that's coming. The fines are up to $50,000. That is not something that you want to be saddled with.
Yeah, and I mean, something to consider as well is that, the number of actual licensed buildings in Victoria, there's not a lot.
Yeah.
People were, definitely running Airbnb, or maybe they weren't allowed to or supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
But the places that were licensed to run these short-term rentals like Airbnb, when people were coming up, not very often, every so often they'd come up, and people were paying good money on it based on the Airbnb model,
mm-hmm.
right? So now if you take that away, you're not going to, it's very, very difficult to sell it as a loss. But I mean, again, you can't, it's not the same value anymore of what it was when you could sell it,
No, and it's certainly not if you're selling it potentially in this period of time where you're in a gluttonous market for those types of properties.
Yeah.
You hear stories about, this was like our whole entire retirement plan.
Yeah.
We just have one. We were just managing the one, and this was supposed to be the nest egg that we needed, that was harder for us to pull together in our working environment.
That's right.
And your heart goes out to people who bought based on an idea that there was going to be like a real financial benefit to their family.
Yeah, I mean, and there's definitely some people that were going a little bit far with this whole model. They're still playing within the rules. As there always
is. Doesn't matter what the subject is.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting that I think Tofino said that they wanted to be taken out of the exemption.
I saw that.
So they want to be part of. They don't want the Airbnbs up there either. So for whatever reason, however that community is going to navigate this,
I feel like that really that's very on trend for Tofino. I'm not surprised at all by that.
No, me neither.
I think that that is just the spirit of Tofino, is that they want to be accessible, and they don't
more camper vans.
More just like camping on the beach, man. Just surfing all day. I love Tofino, and I think that's very on brand for them. For our community, we just have a lot of questions, and I think that we also have a lot of owners that don't live here. We have friends that have managed Airbnbs, and a lot of their owners are in Alberta, and I don't think that they have a full understanding of what is happening to their investment and what the future. I think that they just think they'll keep going until they get in trouble, but with these numbers, I would not be. I'm a risk taker, but I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not that much of a risk taker.
And that's, I think we're going to see everything how it unfolds over the next few weeks. But this new law has been passed, and it's coming into effect very, very soon. So I mean,
we have people that own big houses that they use as Airbnbs. 8 bedrooms, 12 bedrooms, overlooking with these beautiful views. It's going to change the way our market, and it's supposed to do that. That is the whole entire goal. The goal is to have a short-term pain for a long-term gain of having more affordable housing for all of our residents. When you think about sending your kids to school at UVic, and they are, our rental prices are really high if you can even find it. So maybe that's who's getting those 300 square foot condos is our students.
Yeah, I thought that would be a good idea especially for international students, because we don't really, in Canada, we don't really have to provide accommodation to our international
now
students.
We're limiting our international students, but
Yeah.
that's a story for another day.
Sure.
Sure,
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I think it'd be great for, if government needs to step in and maybe help with whatever needs to happen. But I think that'd be a great idea for these schools to be able to buy up some of these properties. That would be great for students. They're not going to be staying there for a school year, that kind of thing. They're not looking at it as a long-term investment to live in as their primary residence. I mean, maybe that'll happen with some people, but 300 square feet, not much you can do with that.
Are we basically making a call out to you, Vic? Hey, call us if you want to buy some buildings?
Yeah, exactly.
Our number is going to go at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
We're ready to help you. But yeah, I think that long term, these cities are facing just such backlash from a group of people that have invested their hard-earned money into these properties. But long term, I think it is just better for everyone that we can provide housing. Now, when you start looking at what are my rights being infringed upon because I should be able to make money the way that I want to make money, and this is a big investment, that's not a question that I can answer. I think that that's for the politicians.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with that. It's they're making moves. They had to do something. We were kind of running out of options as far as how we're going to provide more housing. What are we going to do? And they've done something pretty aggressive, and they're definitely stepping on some toes. There are definitely a lot of people don't agree with it, but we're not building fast enough. So something's got to happen in the meantime.
Yeah, the cost of building is high, and
labor's high.
Yeah,
inflation's high. A lot of stuff happening right now.
Yeah. So we will be monitoring what is happening over the next couple of weeks. And if you have a question about your property, whether or not it is a good time for you to put it on the market, or whether it's a good time for you to buy at this point where we expect it to be relatively gluttonous in May and in June, as the realization starts to hit some of these owners that they don't want to be faced with these fines, call us. We'd be happy to help. We can go over what's coming onto the market and how long they're staying. That's a big indicator, how long each of these properties are, their days on market, and what they go up for and what they sell for, and to be able to make a really, really informed decision that way.
Absolutely. Give us a call. There's probably a ton of questions that everyone has, so we're happy to answer.
Yeah, and hopefully you'll be able to also put your questions below this video, and we can address them. And if there's something that we haven't talked about, feel free to put it on there, and we can get you next time. Okay, thanks.
All right, thanks, guys.